Hey up YouTube, how's it going? It's getting cold, isn't it? Here in the UK, it's the end of November, it's dark by 4:30 and nighttime temperatures are around about freezing. Well, it depends where you go. If you're in a nice sheltered woodland somewhere, you might get a balmy 7 or 8 degrees. Whereas if you're up top on a mountain in the wind, you might get minus 7 or 8 degrees. So there you go, there's my first tip before we've even started the video. Make sure you check your location. Anyway, I'm guessing you're here because you want some winter camping tips. Well, I've scoured the whole of YouTube and the internet so you don't have to, and I've managed to find 50 top tips for winter camping, and they're all here in one video. But rather than be all boring and just talk you through them, I thought I'd take you with me on a camping trip and walk you through my top winter camping tips. And if you think I've missed any winter camping tips, please put it in the comments below. Sharing's caring, don't forget. And we've got to grow this knowledge for everybody. So yeah, get on those comments below. Right, are you ready? Come on then. Hello. Hi. This will do. Yeah. Oh, it's heavy. First tip for while camping in the winter, get a good tent. So my tip in terms of tent choice is look for something that's got a really nice strong design to it. I will show you a little picture of Amy's tent. Sorry Amy, no offence. This is a great tent for 50 quid for wild camping in the summer, or even conditions like we've got now tonight. This is fine because it's really still, but that tent is just nowhere near strong enough to withstand a good a good gale. You know, I would recommend looking at things like the Banshee 200, the Fox, you know, the nature hike tents, they're pretty good. I mean, we all know about Hillebergs, but if you want to spend like nearly £1,000, then go for it. But yeah, you know, I'm really pleased with this tent. But basically what you want to be looking for in a tent is it comes all the way down to the ground, like here. Obviously nice robust design, so you can tell that's just tight as a drum basically. I tell you what, there's nothing worse than a flappy tent in the wind. So that's second tip is get earplugs. Yeah, it's a robust design, tent all the way to the ground, and then you're looking for a solid inner. So what I mean by that is this is what they call solid, and that's what they call the mesh. So you want as much solid inner as possible. So this is a good sort of all-round tent, to be honest, because this, without the crossing poles, this is 1.3 kilos. So great lightweight tent for backpacking in the summer. With the crossing poles, it's about 1.7 kilos. So still pretty lightweight for how strong it is. Obviously, you want to look at the waterproof rating, your hydrostatic head, or HH. The higher the better. Yeah, so that's basically tents. That's your number one priority in winter camping. If you haven't got a good tent, just don't even bother, because yeah, you don't want it blowing off or getting soaked in the middle of the night. Disaster. Next tip is get some decent tent pegs. So this is my Coleman tent peg, and this came with my Alpkit bivvy. Both very good tent pegs. Don't use the, you know, those cheapo steel pegs that just bend and just come out really easily. So Coleman just goes into rocks like no one's business. It's brilliant. I love that. If it's windy, you might want to consider getting some of the, what are they called? Delta pegs. They're the sort of bright yellow plastic ones that are like a sort of a V shape. They're brilliant for the wind, but you need to have good ground conditions that you can actually get them in. So yeah, that's another consideration. Tent pegs. One thing you can consider doing for insulation for your tent, use leaves. So here I've got loads of ferns, so I could gather up these ferns and put them underneath my tent. That would provide a nice little layer of insulation, or whatever you can find really. Yeah, that's a good little tip. Another tip, don't forget your towel, especially if you're camping with a dog. Dogs get very wet and they get cold. Also they smell. Also you get condensation in your tent. You might get absolutely drenched, like, you know, if you've got wet hair, obviously maybe not such a concern for if you haven't got much hair, but I have quite a lot of hair. So yeah, having a towel, you don't always need to bring one this big. You could just get like a little cloth sized towel, like a duster or a face cloth or something like that. But yeah, I highly recommend you getting a towel. There's just so many times when I think it's just really important. Like, let's say if you spilt some water in your tent in the summer, no big deal. In the winter, that could mean the difference between, you know, going home or not, because if your sleeping bag gets all wet, you're going to freeze to death. So yeah, have a towel with you is one of my tips. Next tip is get some nice base layers. So these are merino wool base layers, and I swear by these. You can get synthetic ones, you know, everybody's different. For me, I find merino is just so much fresher. I don't wake up feeling all clammy and sweaty. So yeah, they're really comfortable and really good at sort of regulating your temperature, not itchy at all. What I have found, and this is a bit of a tip as well, is there's no difference, I've not found, between the cheap stuff that you get from Decathlon and Go Outdoors compared with your top name brands. So I have got one somewhere in the bottom of my bag, I'll get it out, which was really expensive. It's like 40 quid, and this was like 20 quid. No difference. Next tip. Gloves. Another tip, hat, because you lose most of your heat through your head, and also your hands get really, really cold. These are running gloves. These are from Decathlon, they're Kalenji. These are great, I have to say. I've got several pairs of ski gloves because I go skiing, and these actually are absolutely great for their size and weight. Yeah, highly rate those, definitely recommend. Scarf, because it just stops that draft coming down inside your coat, so you keep yourself all nice and snug and warm. So yeah, that's what you need in terms of accessories. Oh, the down jacket. Yes, we all need a down jacket in our kit. Down, for its weight, is the best insulating material that you can get. This is the Rab, I'll put it on the screen because I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, absolutely love this jacket. You can get synthetic ones if you can't afford down. What I would say is don't buy cheap down, make sure it's responsibly sourced down, because otherwise basically what it means is they pluck the feathers out of the geese live, which is just so barbaric. I can't even fathom that that's a thing, but it apparently is a thing. So yeah, responsibly sourced down, or get yourself some synthetic. If you can't get a down jacket, maybe a synthetic jacket and a fleece, you know, not a nice lightweight fleece jumper. Definitely layer. So I've got this, this is merino wool as well, and then I've got this fleece here, and then I've got my jacket here, I've got that jacket as well, so you can like regulate your temperature better. What you don't want to do, it's another tip, you don't want to be sweating. So you don't want to be getting to the point where your clothes are getting damp, because that will make you cold. As soon as that temperature drops and you sit down, you'll freeze. Okay, so also another tip, told you there was loads of tips, is make sure you do have the base layers, because it's not, what you don't want to do is go to bed in the clothes that you were wearing during the day. Even if they feel kind of dry, they're not going to be. There is going to be that just little bit of dampness from off your body during the day. You know, you've been walking to get there, putting up your tent and all of that kind of stuff. You will be damp. So that is my top tip. Even if it's freezing, get changed. Do not go to bed in your clothes. In fact, I know somebody, you know, is a qualified mountain leader as well, I'm not going to name his name because he wouldn't thank me for it. But he, you know, with all his experience, he still got in bed one night in the mountains. They'd been hiking, they were camping, and he got in bed without changing his clothes because he thought, wow, I'm all right. And he woke up apparently about 2-3 o'clock in the morning with symptoms of hypothermia. So don't do that. What else have I got in here? Waterproofs. That's another tip. These are the Berghaus pack lights. These are some of the lightest waterproofs that you can get that are breathable. They're really comfy, and they've got a side zip that goes all the way up to there. So yeah, they're easy to put on and off, and they've not let me down yet. This is the Berghaus 3-in-1 jacket. This is also Gore-Tex, but it's really good because it's got this fleece, as you can see. Close up. So I can either just wear the fleece on its own, snazzy, or obviously I can wear them together, or in the summer I quite often don't have the fleece in it, I just use this as a waterproof. So yeah, really versatile jacket. And also I found out that my regatta fleece, which is ridiculously thick and heavy, it's like the sort of thing you get for work, for, you know, when you have to work outside and they give you those big chunky fleeces. It's one of those. Yeah, that zips in as well. So yeah, waterproofs. Gaiters, that's another tip. So these are from Unigear. Thank you very much, Unigear. I have to say, I absolutely love these. It's the first pair of gaiters that I've ever had, but they just keep my trousers absolutely bone dry and clean, which is brilliant during the winter, especially in the UK. Another tip is bring a power bank, because you will be using your torches more, your phones more, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And the cold also means that the batteries don't last as long. So get a power bank. That's another tip. It's another top tip. Get some insulation from the bottom of your tent. This is just some 2mm foam, cheap as chips. This is a Paul Messner tip. I don't take credit for this, but it does make such difference. It's more for Zena's benefit than mine, to be honest, but it really does make a difference when you're just like hanging off your mat, or you're sitting there in your tent, maybe just not on your sleeping mat. It just makes a big, big difference. I'd say 75% insulation just for that little 2mm bit of foam. So yeah, that's a good top tip. Another top tip is you need to look at the R value of your sleeping mat. This is the Thermarest Neoair Xlite. I'll put the R value on the screen, and I will put a little table on the screen for you. And this table shows the R value compared with the temperature, so you can choose the right R value mattress for you. The next top tip is don't blow your sleeping mat up yourself, because what that will mean is two things. One is you'll get moisture in the mattress, which reduces its insulation properties, and two, the moisture means that it gets all sort of like mouldy inside, and it can delaminate, so it can actually sort of like unglue itself basically. So yeah, blowing into your mattress, not good. A lot of mattresses will come with these little pump sacks like this. Absolute total pain in the arse. I'm not gonna lie. Thermarest, totally rubbish. Flextail, on the other hand, thank you very much, Flextail. They sent me this little pump. This is the Tiny Pump X2 or something, I think. I'll put it on screen for you. It's got loads of little adapters. So you can see this one's got like a rubber adapter, so it will fit loads of different air pads. I'm pretty sure it will fit any sleeping pad, and this thing is absolutely brilliant. Let me show you. So I'll put it on there. We have to pop you over here, and how good is this? How good is this? My air mattress is blown up and I don't need to do anything. How good does this look? Don't have to do a thing, just stand there. There we go. And you can hear it changes. And it's full. There you go. And not only is it a pump, but it's a light. Hang on. There you go. Oh, how cool is that? It's really bright as well. There. Like, I can't stare straight at it. Yeah. How cool is that? It's tiny, tiny pump. Yes. Thank you, Flextail. I really, really appreciate that. Link in the description below. Another tip is get a good sleeping bag. So this is the Rab Ascent 900. Good down sleeping bag. This is rated down, I will tell you, this is rated down to -20. I think that is the limit temperature rather than the comfort temperature. So there are 3 different ratings for sleeping bags. There's the comfort limit, the limit, and then there's the extreme limit. So I will put that on screen for you in terms of what they actually mean, because there are actually like definitions and there's an EN rating that go along with it. So do get a sleeping bag with an EN rating. Rab don't follow the EN rating system, but they do very good sleeping bags. Don't buy a sleeping bag that's like, I know, some brand that you've never heard of. That's probably going to overestimate the temperature that you can have it down to, probably by 10-15 degrees. So yeah, get a good quality sleeping bag. Alpkit, Snug Pack, Rab, there's loads of good brands out there. I'll put a few in the description below and you can have a little look and a bit of a shop around. Another tip is something I'm going to try tonight, because this bag is actually a men's bag. It's absolutely massive. Just trying to stand it up against myself. That's the neck. So yeah, I mean, if you're a 7 foot tall bloke, it's all right. But that means there's a lot of air inside this bag, a lot of sort of wasted space, and that means it doesn't keep me as warm as it should do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide my sleeping pad inside my sleeping bag. Like so. And hopefully that'll keep me a bit warmer tonight. So something else you need to think about is your torch. So you want a torch that's going to last a long time, ideally one that's rechargeable, because you don't want to be carrying around loads of batteries. It's extra weight, and just having a power bank and a rechargeable torch is much better. One that's really bright, and one that will get you down the mountain if you need to. But yeah, one that will last a long time is probably the most important thing. This is the Alpkit Qark. I did a video on this not too long ago. I'll put it on the screen for you, and I'll put a link in the description below. A couple of other tips to keep you warm in the winter. This is a little hot hands thing. These will keep warm for about 12 hours, these ones. These aren't the proper hot hands ones. These are shoe ones, but they'll do the same job. And this is my secret weapon. These are the Thermarest back wraps, heat wraps, and there are another brand as well. I'll put the link to both brands underneath for you. But these are absolutely brilliant for keeping you warm in the winter, especially if you've got a bad back, or you know, if you're just prone to sort of being cold. Again, these will stay warm for about 12 hours. Don't really need it tonight. I'll probably just chuck one of these in the sleeping bag. Another thing you can do is get a bottle that will hold hot water. So you can put boiling water in here. An Nalgene bottle as well, that will also work. This is a single skin metal bottle. And there you go, you've got a hot water bottle. Or you can actually use a hot water bottle. On the same note is, if your waterproof trousers are dry and you've got them with you and you're getting cold, put them on because they will warm you up. And one thing as well is that you should always remember is, I've totally forgotten. Oh yeah, don't breathe in the sleeping bag. I know it's tempting, but it's just all that moisture. It's always gonna, moisture is your enemy in the winter, basically. So yeah, don't breathe into your sleeping bag if you can possibly help it. Just use other things to warm up your sleeping bag instead. And something else you can do to increase the insulation of your setup is you could use your bivy bag over the sleeping bag. Even though you're in a tent, it will just help to insulate your sleeping bag that a little bit more. Or get a sleeping bag liner, so it's obviously sort of goes on the inside. So there are a couple of handy tips as well. And the next tip is to make sure you've got a nice hot meal for the night. Oh, central heating. You might also want to think about some entertainment because the nights are obviously going to be long and dark. So I usually bring with me my Kindle. So obviously you can get books on here, you can get films, games, all sorts. And don't make the mistake of going to bed when you need the toilet. Go to the toilet before you get in bed, because you will wake up in the middle of the night and have to get out your tent anyway. So, but yeah, needing the toilet, it just makes you colder. So obviously you've got more water in your body, so you're trying to keep that warm. So it just uses up energy that you don't need to use. So go to the toilet. I sound like my mum. Make sure you go to the toilet before we go. She doesn't sound like that. But it's the sort of thing she says. And the other thing you need to make sure that you do before you go to bed is protect your water filter, especially if it's freezing. You need to just pop it in the end of your sleeping bag or something like that. Just you get it all wrapped up. If it freezes, then it is no good. So make sure you do that. You might also want to do the same with your electricals as well, just to, you know, preserve the batteries and protect them. So, yep, there you go. Another tip. Morning, YouTube. So I thought I'd give you a quick update on some of the tips that I shared last night. So putting the sleeping mat in the sleeping bag, I'd say was half successful. It did seem to keep the sort of the bottom half of my body warmer, but because I couldn't then sort of cinch the hood and stuff around me at the top half of me was actually a little bit cooler. So yeah, I don't know about that one. I might give it another try. I did wake up in the middle of the night just absolutely roasting hot, so that's actually another tip. You know, don't overcook it. It's not surprising really, because I had my thermals on. I'd got those hot hand things out, so they were sort of in my socks. Cheers. Don't know if you saw that, but there's a drip of rain come down. Yeah, I had the hot hands on. I had the back wrap on because I was a bit cold actually. You know, before I went to sleep. I also had my down jacket on as well. So yeah, I woke up probably about 2:30, absolutely roasting. So that's also something that you don't want to be doing ideally. I knew that I was overcooking it, but I just wanted to try out all the different sort of techniques and see how I got on. And yeah, there you go. I wanted to share that with you guys. So another important tip is to check the weather report. I was actually expecting it to be raining this morning. In fact, they'd forecast thunderstorms. So yeah, we've been really lucky this morning, but it could have gone the opposite way. So that's why I didn't camp up top, because obviously I didn't want to get caught out in a thunderstorm if the weather had gone the wrong way. So yeah, I always use Met Office weather report. They do have a mountain forecast section, and you can also Google mountain weather forecast as well, and there's a site. So check those. If you're heading out into more extreme conditions, it's a good idea to check your local weather reports. So I know in the Peak District, for example, there's Buxton Weather. I'm not sure if that's the name of it. I'll put it on the screen for you. But they're brilliant because that's actually live updates from the locals telling you what roads are closed and, you know, flooding or snow drifts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, check the weather reports in the winter. That's so important that you know what to expect and you're not caught out. And my last tip is check your routes as well. So I also had planned to camp somewhere else yesterday, but I worked out that it was a 2-hour drive to get there, and then it was a 2-hour hike as well. And I was sat there at about 12 o'clock going, it's going to be like 4 o'clock before I even get to camp. So that wasn't going to work. But it's so easy to get caught out at this time of year. You know, maybe you stop for a bit longer for lunch, or you meet someone, you get chatting, or, you know, you have a little accident that delays you for half an hour. So I recommend massively, I use the OS maps. I know people use things like All Trails and stuff like that too. But yeah, get one of those kind of like GPS sort of navigation devices on your phone, and then you can map out your route and you can see how long it's going to take you for walking. So yeah, not only will it stop you from getting lost, but it also means that you can plan your day. It is really easy to get caught out. I've been caught out many a time, you know, just that sort of extra half an hour, and then you end up walking back in the dark or something, you know. So yeah, those are my top tips for winter camping. And I hope you've enjoyed that. And if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and like and share and comment and do all those things. No, but really, yeah, please do. I massively appreciate that. And I will see you on the next one. In fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be testing this Scarp, this bad boy, against the Hillyberg. So that's going to be a real test with some winter camping grit. So I will catch you very, very soon. Bye. Oh, I just remembered another tip as well. So if it's really windy, let's say the wind's coming this direction, you want to be packing away your tent with the pegs to this end, so that the wind's sort of pushing it along the tent so it stays nice and sort of flat, it's not all blowing up in your face. But you need to keep the pegs in, otherwise you might end up with no tent. You might end up with a kite instead. So yeah, there you go, another tip. I wonder how many I've managed to get so far. Another tip is, you might want to think about packing your tent on the outside of your bag. Most bags have got little straps that will hold something like a roll mat, so I use it for my tent, partly because, to be fair, the Scarp packs like this, you can't sort of squash it down because it's got fixed poles in it, but the advantage of this is you can get everything packed away inside your tent, nice and dry, whack your tent on the outside, and then nothing gets wet inside your bag. So it's quite a risk if you put your tent in soaking wet. Everything else in your bag's going to be soaking wet. Right, there you go then. Leave no trace. Those are my top tips for winter camping. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget to comment and like and subscribe and do all those things. Especially if you want to watch more great videos, of course. Who doesn't want to watch more of me? Like, how are you supposed to do these things where you're asking people to like and subscribe without sounding like a complete douchebag? So yeah, if you'd like to support the channel and see more great content, please do hit those buttons down below. Cheers guys, bye.